we're going to explore some of the other parameters that we can set for Windows by creating some internal glazed screens. So we make sure we've got a working environment that we can use to start with. So if we go to our window editor by pressing F2, we need to make the upper level doors and windows layer editable. So that's this one here. So double click to make it editable and current. And we also need to make sure that the internal walls are owned. Again, remember we're working in a multi-user project, so we need to have ownership of the walls so that the codependency between the two layers is set up correctly. So we zoom into the first panel of wall here that we want to place a screen into, and let's move the axes so that the axes are aligned with the wall itself. It's the Z height that's important for us here. It just means that we can create the object at the appropriate level for where we're working rather than have it down in space somewhere. Let's lock the Z level so we have the working plane at the floor level, and we give the command object new, select an internal screen, and again we have to type in IFC window as the first facet. Now this can get annoying eventually, that you're having to type this in by hand over and over again. You can in fact modify your naming assistants to include these names, and you can also modify the naming assistant to include the object style that's appropriate for the object that you're creating. So you could have multiple entries in your naming assistant for each different style of object that is available. But for the moment we have to do this manually, so click on OK. Let's position the hook point somewhere in space, and we need to use Control Q to bring up our properties dialog, set the object style manually as I've just mentioned to window, and we're going to make it a triple panel window, shall we say. So triple panel vertical, where are we? Triple panel vertical, yeah, oops. Triple panel vertical. We're going to make the overall width of this 2.7 meters. That's a fairly large glazed screen. So the overall height is going to be 1800 millimeters, and the overall width is 2700, and the base of the opening is going to be 300 millimeters above floor level. And the alignment across the wall for the frame is correct at half, but the frame depth needs to be the same as the wall thickness. So that's 125 millimeters for a 100 millimeter block and 2 layers of plaster. And the first mullion offset, and remember we've got 3, so they're at third intervals. Third is 0.33 in round figures, and the second mullion is 0.66, so that's 2/3 of the way along. And we can set the frame thickness a little thicker, I think, for a screen of this size, so let's make it 65, and the mullions 65 also. Okay, well, there are no transoms, so we don't need to edit those values, and we can close the panel, the properties panel, and then we can just drag the screen into place on the wall. And let's make another copy of that a little bit further along, so we have a pair of glazed screens within that wall there, and it's as simple as that. So we can now duplicate those glazed screens. Let's say we want one on this wall here, and another little further across on this wall here, and finally let's put one over here on this wall. Okay, all straightforward. We'll place some glazed screens on the lower level now, so we just need to make sure that the layer settings are correct. So in the window editor, F2 again, make the current layer hittable, select the layer that we want to work on, which is this one here, doors 00, and we need to make sure that the internal wall layer that we are placing the doors and windows into is owned. So click on close, and OK, object new. Remembered the name, we're still in the same session, so it recalls the last object name that you used. Just snap anywhere on the drawing. Actually, we do need to set the axes. Let's reset the axes. So do object new again. Okay, let's position the axes. It's now on the working plane, and we can do Control Q, bring up our properties dialog. Operation is going to be, let's see, let's just make sure we set the window style. Single panel, double panel, and let's make the overall height 1800, the overall width 1800, the sill height, the base of the opening at 300, the frame depth 125, frame thickness, let's make it a little bit thicker again, so it's 65, the mullion 65, and the mullion offset, there's only 2 panels, so the mullion wants to be central. Let's make it 0.5, and that's it. Click on close, and what we want to do is place the window into this wall here, so all we have to do is to do move, or we can click and drag and just snap into the wall, and it will adjust itself to suit the wall in a moment. There we go, it needs to be further along that way. So far so good, and we'll make a few copies, so let's copy that one to there, hold the control key down and we can make another copy, and that one eventually finds its home, and there. Okay, fine, and I think that's probably enough for now. We've got the general idea, and we'll move on to doing floor slabs next.